Hey everyone, it's Caleb from Caleb's Trains here today, and in today's video we're going to do a layout overview of my entire 5' by 9' Lionel Fast Track layout. I'm super excited to show you guys what all I've done in the past 2 years to this layout. It's definitely been a work in progress, but I'm super thrilled with how it's turning out so far, and of course, no layout's always finished, so there's always going to be future layout updates. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this Lionel layout I have been working on for about 2 years now. Now I've only filmed about a year's worth on the actual YouTube channel, and the reason why is because a lot of it was just boring track work and actually saving up to buy the switches. Even though I use cheaper switches, which are 036 switches, that are the manual ones, it still takes a lot of time and effort and money to save up and buy for these switches, because let's be honest, O scale is not the cheapest scale by no means, and especially when it comes to track. So the layout was originally based on a layout design called Anna's Siding. And then what I did with that is I modified it by adding another, I think it was a 4.5 inch straight piece here on both sides, and then adding an extra siding for my industries here, because I knew I wanted 2 industries with some track work in between. But with that being said, the layout is not the same 4x8 layout that it is anymore. This past June, I went through and actually did a whole video documenting this process that you can find on my YouTube channel as well, where I extended the layout by about a foot on each side, or excuse me, about 6 inches on each side. By doing this, it is now a 5' by 9' layout and allowed me to accommodate for an 048 loop on the outside, which I'm super happy with because it looks perfect next to the 036 loop. Now you may be wondering why I went with 036 and 048. Well, most of the southern locomotives that I want for my layout, I can find either in a semi-scale line like Rail King, or or Customize Line Master, or in this instance, most of it is scale and will work, including like things like my 462 Pacific down there and stuff are rated for 036, so they work already. I didn't have to worry about getting bigger curves and bigger switches, because all the switches on the layout are 036, which I'm perfectly okay with, because I normally don't, I'm not switching my entire Crescent Limited through the switches back there, especially with 18-inch passenger cars. It just doesn't look right. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with the track work that I have done on this layout. All the Lionel Fast Track is weathered with a paint pen from Walmart. Instead of using the Woodland Scenics one, I decided to save some money. It's like a little $2 pen from Walmart, and it works flawlessly. I went through about 5 or 6 of them for the entire layout, and that's way cheaper than buying just heck maybe even 1 or 2 Woodland Scenics paint pens, which would get you about the same distance. And then on top of weathering the track, I actually put Woodland Scenics medium gray ballast on the outside, and this looks fantastic. I didn't do any ballasting on the inside because the medium gray just matched the track so well I didn't have to, but it makes all the track look so much more realistic when you weather it and ballast it like that. And you can see in some areas that are a little more industrial, I've kind of mixed some dirt into the ballast just to make it look a little better blending with the grass. But overall, I couldn't be happier with how the track looks on this layout. All of it is ballasted now, and I'm super thrilled about that. But next up, we'll go into what I decided to do with buildings. When I was originally planning this layout, I knew that I wanted at least 2 industries, and I wanted some sort of downtown section, because that's most of the time what I cared about when building a train layout. If you don't know, I used to do HO scale, and I was always worried about rail yards. And then the more and more I worried about rail yards, the more and more I realized that switching through industries is a lot more fun than switching with rail yards. So I made sure when designing this layout that I had at least enough room for 2, even 3 industries. So one of the industries is technically this platform here. It's just a loading platform for general use. Sometimes I decide to put like the tractor and trailer I have right here, act like it's loading something, but it's just kind of there so that you can be loading something, or normally I'll end up parking a locomotive here. Next up is actually the H&H Feed Mill by Woodland Scenics. Now, a lot of the buildings that I've bought on this layout are from Woodland Scenics and pre-made, just because they make their buildings so downright gorgeous. And believe it or not, the H&H Feed Mill and the Morrison Door Factory were both from trains.com. Like I said, you can find a lot of stuff new and used on there. I found both of these buildings used for a killer deal that I just couldn't pass up, because these are very expensive buildings. I think this one's normally like $220. I mean, they are not cheap by any means, but they are handmade and hand weathered, which is what's awesome about it, because these normally can come as kits, and then they put them together at the factory, and they actually hand weather this, and they even put things like pigeons and stuff. I mean, just super detailed. And as you can see, we actually have a mini Scott Griggs, the owner of trains.com. But yeah, so this overall I'm super happy with. And the way that I laid these out and figured out that these two buildings could work in this small oval area, because this looks massive on camera, it's really not in person. It's probably only about 3 feet wide in between the tracks right here. Is I would actually take each building that I was going to buy, I would look up the dimensions on Woodland Scenic's website with these buildings, and then I would cut out a piece of cardboard to that exact size and lay the cardboard out here just to make sure that it would fit before I spent, you know, a lot of money on these buildings. And I'm so thankful that they fit perfectly. It creates such a cool scene just filming trains coming through here like that. So I couldn't be happier with how this looks, and it actually, you know, functions and stuff here, which is pretty sick. And then we come over here to my Morrison door factory, which has now actually been converted into a Cheerwine factory, because I'm from North Carolina and we pretty much live and breathe off of that stuff. Cheerwine is a fantastic soft drink. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. It's a cherry flavored soft drink. It is absolutely amazing. Or us North Carolinians cannot get enough of it. But yeah, and then one thing I forgot to touch on with the H&H feed mill is these two things here that I both got at the York Train Show. That is an Athearn die-cast tractor, and then I don't know who makes the die-cast vehicles. I couldn't find any brand markings on them, but they're about 1/43 scale, but they look pretty good with O-scale stuff, and they actually have like some milk cartons in the back here, which is pretty sick. But those look fantastic next to the farm scene right there. And farm in quotes, but just like the farm building, because it's a grain mill. But yeah, back to the Cheerwine factory. I actually took the Morrison door factory sign off and changed it with some custom printed decals that say drink Cheerwine. I got some more decals over here, just like a soda poster here with Coca-Cola and the train whistle. And then the Cheerwine factory sign is on this side as well. I actually cleared off all the door supplies and stuff, which this might look a little bare over here for now, and it's because I need to get some 3D printed soda crates. I'm gonna get some 3D printed Cheerwine soda crates that are gonna go right here and be stacked up high, which is gonna be awesome. And then you'll notice this quite a bit around the layout. I love this old Cheerwine vintage sign here. I printed out a lot of them, and it's everywhere. Like over there is over there's an example on the downtown building, but yeah, overall I'm just super happy with how that looks. And this whole area is really cool. It's definitely one of my favorite areas to film. The parking lot lines were just made with a Woodland Scenic's paint pen, and then those are actually grade crossing supports that are going in there soon. I gotta figure out what's going in the corner before I deal with doing the grade crossing there and all that stuff. But yeah, overall I'm super happy with this area. The last building that's over here is actually I believe this is a Walther's Cornerstone O-scale kit, which is not something that you find very often. And I found it pre-built already on eBay. I got a pretty good deal on it because it came with that one as well, and then like a speeder shed that I just didn't use and didn't have room. But overall pretty happy with it. There is lights in it, so everything on the layout lights up except for the general store and the station over here that are not wired up yet. I need to get some more expansion hubs for those for the Woodland Scenic's lighting kit, which we'll get into lighting here in a minute, because there's two types of lighting systems I have on this layout that work perfect. Moving on to this corner of the layout, we have one of the newest buildings that I got from, I believe my buddy Matty C actually sold me this building a while ago. It's a station kit, and I believe this is also Walther's, but the roof comes off. And you can see I have the lights that are actually installed already. I just have to wire them up. I think I actually, I drilled the hole where it's gonna go down. But I'm gonna put interior details in this one and actually custom floors and everything so that you can take the roof off and look. Still need to make the parking lot too. But this building looks fantastic. This is one of the newest scenes of the layout here, is just getting to film trains coming around the corner like that. It almost reminds me of this like CSX station I've seen in the mountains, and I can't remember the name of that station, but it was a beautiful station. I'm sure somebody in the comments will let me know, but yeah, I couldn't be happier with how the station looks. And then I added these cattails from Hobby Lobby. They look pretty sick as well. So, but overall, this whole section here is new, and we actually have one more thing that's getting installed soon in this section, which is a Lionel intermodal tower that makes sounds. I finally found one of these for a pretty good price, and that's going to be installed soon. I have to Dremel the base off of it so it will fit back there, where there will be like the yard office is what I'm gonna call it. So even though there's no yard. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to this section of the layout. Starting over here in this corner is actually one of the first buildings that was put on the layout alongside one of the downtown buildings, is this general store kit. I can't remember who made this kit. I'm sure somebody will comment it in the description. I couldn't find it in my eBay history, but it was a kit that was about 50 bucks. And it was a little bit challenging to put together. This is my first time putting together a laser kit. And I learned really quick that when you paint laser kits, you have to make sure the wood doesn't warp. I had to put books on the wood and let it sit flat for like 2 days just so the pieces would go together flush. But overall, I just love how this thing looks. I mean, that's so cool with all the old soda signs. And then I actually took a Cheerwine bottle cap and put it on the back to make it look like one of those big ones on buildings. And you can see, if it'll focus, yep, we got another Cheerwine sign on the back, always. Got some more Coca-Cola on this side. All this is gonna be trees. I actually have some super trees right here that I have to put together. These are gonna be super awesome. Get it, super trees. But they do take some time, so that's the next project on this layout. But overall, I love how this looks. And I actually took the dog from my water tower, my Menards water tower, because they always come with Jack the German Shepherd. I put it right there because it looks awesome. And then Kisco Falls Railway actually got me this when we went to York because I was eyeballing it. I didn't want to spend the money for it, and he went ahead and bought it for me, which was like it was so cool of him to do that. He didn't have to do that, but massive shout out to Kisco Falls Railway on YouTube and Instagram. I mean, he's the man, 100%, one of the nicest guys I've ever talked to. But yeah, he gave me this, and it just looks so perfect next to the general store, which there's kind of a story with some of the vehicles on this layout I'll get into in a minute when I show you some of the other ones, because everything ties together. I wanted my layout to feel like it has a story behind it, and one of those is definitely soda distribution. So let's go ahead and move over here where we have another vehicle that I believe Bobby gave me this as well. It's a grape soda truck. I mean, this is just cool. These 1/43 scale die-cast vehicles, they are perfect for any layout. I don't mind the Menards ones either, but they're a little smaller. These just feel better compared to O-scale people. But yeah, I just love that. These roads are actually done with some pieces of plastic on Amazon, and then I would spray paint them with 2 different types of spray paint, you know, a primer and then the actual paint. And then the way that I weathered it was I actually took my hands and covered them in graphite and then just smeared the graphite all over this and then clear coated it so it doesn't get smeared anymore. And it came out, I mean, the weathering on this is perfect. I kind of wish I did it a little differently so that there could be some streaks, but it's on the layout now, so there's no going back. Again, I use that paint pen, and then the white lines are actually, I believe, this white Sharpie right here, because I was doing it recently for this section over here. Again, I have to complete this grade crossing, another project for another day. But this leads me into the lights over here. So most of the lights on the layout are Woodland Scenics because I had not tried the Dwarven light system beforehand. But I have to admit, this is one of the easiest light systems I've ever used in my life. It's literally a fiber optic line that you put into this little light box, and it's as easy as that. You just drill the hole for the lights, put the light in the fiber optic thing, plug it in, and you're good to go. There's no hooking up like the Woodland Scenics or even soldering like some other manufacturers of buildings like MTH Rail King buildings and stuff like that, which that one's a Rail King, but I took the light out of that and I put a Woodland Scenics light in it because I wasn't even fooling with the MTH Rail King bulbs going out after it's permanently glued on the layout. But yeah, the Dwarven lighting system, I have a whole video describing it and showcasing it. It is a very nice system, and we'll go ahead and plug up the lights here while we do the rest of this. Sorry, I hit the camera on the table. But yeah, just look at these. Look at how awesome these are. They're very bright, and that's just through a fiber optic line. I mean, and these are the globe lamps that they have in the O scale. I'm pretty sure they do HO and N scale lights as well, and they definitely have a lot more options for HO and N scale, but they do have a lot of options for O scale, including like grade crossings and stuff and dwarf signals. So definitely highly recommend these. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the downtown buildings, which is some of my favorite things. Some of these have some stories. So this one I got on eBay for like 50 bucks. I don't know exactly why I found it so cheap, but it was a really good deal and I'm super happy with it. Harrison's Hardware is definitely one of the ones that you can find for a good price. And actually one of my best friends' names is Harrison, so I knew I had to get it because it was funny. Every time he comes over to see the layout, I'm just like, yeah, that one's based on you. But then we got an MTH Rail King Country Station. This is a little bit harder of a building to find. I believe I first saw it on Optimus's channel when he had his old his old, he made a railway based on like, you know, excursions and stuff. And he had this station on his layout before he swapped it for a more prototypical realistic station. But I just love how it looked. It really looks like something you'd see in North Carolina. And I just had to find one. I found one for like 30 bucks. It was a steal because now these things sell for over 100 easily. But I just love how this looks. And I actually have some like soda crates and a conductor figure here. These came out of a model car from Hobby Lobby. But yeah, super happy with how these turned out. And over here you can see I've actually got a little homage to the Secondhand Overland over there. I got one of his stickers right there, so shout out to the Secondhand Overland. Definitely go watch his videos. We also have a really cool fire truck here. Oh yeah, Matt K Productions actually gave me this fire truck. I think I bought it off of him, and it is just I mean, look at that thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. It fits my time period on this layout so much, and I love how this looks. And then right here is actually the first building I ever bought for the layout, which is the Boyd's Billards. I paid full price for this thing. Man alive, was it expensive, but it was so worth it. If you don't know, I actually have a pool table in this room, and I love playing pool. It's one of my favorite things ever to play. So I knew I had to get Boyd's Billards because it's so cool. I mean, look at the green lights at the top. It's so sick. But that one I definitely paid full price for, and it was I guess worth it. I definitely wish I had found it used though. And speaking of finding things used for a killer price, this building I found at the Spencer Shops train show, and there was no price tag on it. I asked the vendor what he wants. He said $15. $15, you heard me right. $15 for a brand new Woodland Scenics building. Well, it had no box or anything. All that was wrong was one of the cords was snapped for the lights. It took me 2 seconds to repair it. And now I have the Woodland Scenics movie theater, which is just, it's so cool. I mean, and I'm a videographer. That's my full-time job. So obviously I love movies and film and everything. So this right here was a no-brainer for the layout. I mean, I absolutely love how this thing looks. It just looks so good. And the whole downtown area is almost complete. All that it needs now is maybe a couple more vehicles for the parking spaces here and some people. But again, that costs money, and you know, it takes time to get that money. So overall, I'm really happy with how this looks. And then over here in this corner, we actually have the newest work in progress project. I just put this shed down that I got from York. I put a Cheerwine decal again because we love Cheerwine. And then there's gonna be a little fence here for a cow pasture. And then I got a little family that's gonna go here. And then they're gonna have their little Volkswagen van. I don't know, Matt K gave me this, and I just love how this van looks. So it's gonna go right here as well. And then a gravel driveway where this is gonna be sitting on. But this is gonna be like a farm building, and then you're gonna have to just pretend there's a house over here. Overall, this just looks so cool. I love how this little shed looks. And the backdrop definitely helps. So this backdrop is made by Train Junkies on eBay, and then I think they have their website as well. It was like $100 for this. It is 12 feet long by 2 feet high, and this is the Blue Ridge one because the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I love how this looks, especially when you get down low on the angles with this layout. It really immerses you into the scene and makes you feel like you're actually in a different world. So overall, super happy with how that turned out on the backdrop. And then of course, for other decorations, I have things like a picture that I took of 544, and then obviously it's photoshopped, but I got this printed on vinyl. It's super cool looking. We got some Cheerwine decals. The light's really bright there. Got some homages to Cheerwine again right here. Some Billard signs, old Lionel signs. Seaboard Railway, Southern, 630 right there. Just a whole bunch of train decorations. And right here's my workbench. It's definitely a little messy right now, but what workbench is not messy? And then right here above the layout, we have these old gas station signs that I got at my previous job. They were just gifted to me, and these things look absolutely amazing. And they just fit the vibe of the layout so much, and I couldn't be happier with them. So let's go ahead and move on here to the last sections of the layout. So right here is a little shed that came with this switch tower right here. And I love how this thing looks. And then I put a little light in it and diffused it with some parchment paper, actually, to make the light diffuse so you couldn't see inside. And then last but not least, we actually have the Menards water tower. I wanted to go with the Broadway Limited operating one, but I didn't want to spend the money on it. So I went with the Menards one, and honestly, I couldn't be happier. It just fits the whole theme of this layout, and it gives something interesting for the trains to go through with the figure 8 design here. I just love how this looks. It's so cool. But yeah, so the future plans for this layout, I'm not sure what's gonna go here yet. I'm thinking about Molly's Diner. It's a Woodland Scenics building. That's probably gonna be what goes here. But yeah, either that or it's just gonna be a bunch of trees. I know that I've got a bunch of super trees that are about to go all over the layout and replace my old Woodland Scenics trees. Not that these are bad trees, I just think the super trees look better, and I wanna make this layout as detailed as possible since it's such a smaller layout compared to other ginormous layouts where you notice more small details. And then back here, it's gonna be mostly just a couple trees, a lot of bushes and stuff. And then that Lionel intermodal tower is gonna go right here, or intermodal shed, and it makes sounds and stuff. I actually have to get it hooked up and stuff so that you guys can hear it on the channel. It's super, super cool, but it's gonna go right here. And then I'm actually have one of those stands that would normally hold train orders back in the day, and they'd reach out and grab the train orders. That's gonna be right next to the yard office. And then probably a portion of a gravel parking lot, not a full gravel parking lot because this is a small area to work with. But yeah, other than that and adding some people and vehicles to the layout, the entire layout is almost done. It feels crazy that it's almost done after only 2 years, but it has been a lot of work, time, effort, and money put into this layout over 2 years. And I feel like it's been almost a year since I have made my original layout overview video. It was time to redo one and show you guys what it is now. I am super happy with how this layout has turned out. It is so gorgeous so far. And it really does feel like the South because Southern serves the South. I love the Southern Railway if you can't tell. I really wanted to go for that kind of feeling that you get when you think about the Southern Railway. So yeah, overall I'm super happy with it. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and show some trains running on the layout, just so you guys have something awesome to watch right here at the end of the video. Without further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one.